Welcome to Podcast 83, a regular look at the news, stories, and trends related to Michigan's 83 counties from the Michigan Association of Counties.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Podcast 83, the podcast put on by the Michigan Association of Counties. Today, we are joined by Deena Bosworth and Samantha Gibson, and we're going to kind of change our format a little bit this week because obviously with it being an election week, it being the Monday before an election, not a lot has been going on in Lansing, and everyone is anxiously anticipating the outlook of this election tomorrow, which, who knows when we'll find out the actual results, probably later in the week, and then we can see how it impacts Lansing, and we'll kind of get to that in a minute. But so what we did is we put out a request for questions, and we'll kind of run through some of those questions, and Samantha and Deena will answer them to the best of our ability. Sound good?
I'm in.
Sounds
All
great.
right. Question 1. With county commissioners moving to 4-year terms, what does that do for county commissioner compensation? Deena?
Yeah, we had that posed to us, and we actually consulted legal counsel and had them do some work on it. And the response was compensation for county commissioners has to be determined prior to the start of the new term. So now that they have 4-year terms, they have to adopt their compensation prior to the end of this year. So prior to December 31st, 2024, so that they know what their compensation is for this next term. They can't change their compensation or, vote on new compensation in January after they take office. So whoever is on the board now needs to determine what that compensation level is going to be going forward for the next term.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, and so that process still hasn't changed, right? Because
Has not.
you still got a former, I think it's a compensation committee. They have to make a decision under a certain amount of time. If they don't, then any changes they adopt are null and void. So it essentially is, if you follow the same process now, it's just in effect for a longer period of time rather than just a 2-year period of time. So along those same lines, with the change to 4-year terms, are there changes to chair and vice chair terms?
No. Although, the legislation that was adopted, creating 4-year terms for county commissioners, moving away from the 2-year terms, was done as a certain section of law. The other sections of law have not been amended. So what that means is, just as your process is now, you have to vote for a chair for a 2-year term, unless your board has a resolution where you adopt a chair for a 1-year cycle, and then 1-year cycle for your vice chair. So that again has not changed. So however your county has been operating thus far is what it looks like. So even if you're there for 4 years, that chairmanship is still only a 2-year term.
Or 1 year, depending on your
Or 1 year, depending on, yes.
your particular board rules. All right, next, changing directions a little bit. Had a question on how is the list of PAC, so our PAC, the MAC PAC recipients determined? Sam, you want to talk about that, Deena, or both you guys?
And we'll probably tag team this one. At the beginning, for our members, just so you know, at the beginning of every legislative cycle, we look at who the new members are in the House and in the Senate and come up with a recommended list of PAC recipients. So as staff, Steve included, we sit down and we look at which party is in majority, who former county commissioners were that will most likely be very supportive of county legislative matters. We look at who is in leadership, who are committee chairs, who are committee vice chairs. And honestly, we come up with also who are really the movers and shakers in the caucus. Now, a lot of that is inside baseball, and so it can't be a hard and fast rule when we determine our PAC list. But that process happens in January. Sometimes it happens in February after we know who all the committee chairs are and what that's going to look like. Let's take, chair of the local government committee. Those individuals are extremely influential in the policy that deals with county government. Let's look at the chair of judiciary and public safety. extremely influential regarding the policies that affect county government. So those people automatically are going to be put on our list. Let's say education committee. MAC doesn't really work on education policy, and so that's not a committee chair that would make that cut or make that list unless that person was a former county commissioner, somebody who's been engaged with MAC in the past and is really going to advocate for the issues that we care about. Once that list is determined, we take that to our PAC board, and then that has got to be approved by that board. So giving us a thumbs up or a thumbs down or make some changes to our recommended PAC list. That is the list then that we use moving forward through the entire 2-year cycle to determine who actually gets PAC dollars and who doesn't. Now, there are some instances mid-session where even if it was a former county commissioner, if they're consistently voting against policies that affect, your county operations, against MAC policies, we'll take a look at that and probably scale that back a little bit. Definitely not, give a maximum amount of dollars to that person.
And
That's
you may
about
add people to that list too, depending on how things change after a year. You could have some, resignations or things like that, position changes, things like that. And that list isn't necessarily everyone we give to, right? It's a option to give to depending on what's going on and how things are going with that particular individual, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We are not mandated to donate PAC dollars to these individuals. It is an encompassing list that we think is we would like our board to approve and weigh in on, but it is absolutely not a guarantee that we will give PAC dollars to all of those individuals.
And we're capped. There are caps too on the financial amount that we can give to those individuals as well. And so, Sam,
Yes.
do you want to talk a little bit about some of the changes we're looking at the next legislative session for the PAC?
I would love to. We have some really exciting changes coming in 2025. For those of you who attended our annual conference in Grand Traverse County, you already got to hear about the up and coming changes to MAC PAC. But what we're looking to provide for you all is not only an opportunity to shape and advance public policy in Lansing that is to the benefit of county government, but also give you some cool personal benefits that you can enjoy. So we've established some different membership tiers: bronze, silver, gold, platinum. Bronze membership, you'll get political updates from Mac's government affairs team. So that's yours truly, our fearless leader, Deena, and Madeline, who wasn't able to join us on this episode today. Pollsters, political pundits, really cool, interesting stuff that, maybe it's a little inside baseball, but if you're nerdy and you're policy wonks like we are, you might get interested in the politics behind all things Lansing. Silver membership, you'll get those updates as well as some MacPrec branded merchandise. We've got a new logo that we have yet to unveil, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Who doesn't love some swag? Gold, you'll get the updates, the merch, entry to special events at conferences, and then invites to county caucus events in Lansing. So the county caucus is all of the former county commissioners that now serve in the state legislature, who are, of course, friends to county government. They have served, maybe they're freshmen, maybe they're several terms in, but throughout their time in Lansing, they have been really influential in helping us advance local government, particularly county government issues. And so you can come to our office or wherever we host it in Lansing, spend an afternoon or an evening with your counterparts in the legislature. And then lastly is platinum membership. That's all of the benefits I previously mentioned. And then a legislative VIP day in Lansing, again, with our government affairs team. And we'll recognize you for your commitment to MAC and to our PAC, and all the things that we've been able to accomplish with our PAC dollars at conferences moving forward. So look for that come 2025.
Yeah, some exciting changes there. I know you and Madeline both put some work into that, so look forward to engaging in some of that in the next year. All right, the next question we have, and this is crystal ball time. We mentioned the election earlier. What will lame duck look like if the House flips or the House Dems retain majority? So why don't we talk a little bit about our expected schedule, and then we can kind of get into that over the next few weeks, because that'll impact our podcasts and how things will work the rest of the year.
Fair enough, fair enough. So the election is this week. We're recording this on Monday, so we don't know what the election results are going to look like tomorrow. We hope to have a better idea on what the majority looks like in the House Wednesday, might go into Thursday, depending on whether or not there's recounts or what's happening across the state. But the legislature, the House will come in on Thursday. Senate will probably come in too, but the House will come in on Thursday of this week. And at that time, they'll know, did the Democrats maintain majority? Did the Republicans take majority? Or is it split? And it is on that Thursday that the legislature will do their leadership elections. So who's going to be the speaker? Who's going to be the minority leader? What do those other positions within their caucus look like? Then they're here the following week. So they're here the week of the 12th, 13th, and 14th. We do expect some legislative movement. Then they're gone for 2 weeks. They're gone for hunting break. They're gone for Thanksgiving. Then the legislature will be back in session for the lame duck period. Those first 2 weeks, maybe the first 3 weeks of December, depending on how it's going. Now, what lame duck looks like is completely dependent on how, sort of the results of the election, how many members show up, what happened with leadership elections, what the governor really wants to accomplish. Can the Senate compel the House to come in or not? And will the House have enough votes to get done the things that the Senate wants to get done or the House members want to get done? We don't really quite know yet. Sam, what do you think?
Well, there's one of three outcomes that'll play out. To your point, Dems keep majority, Republicans take back the majority, or a split House. I've heard back when I was a House staffer, one of the committee clerks I worked with used to tell me all about the days with Paul Hilligans and the split House at that time, and that they used to go back and forth. 1 month Republican majority, 1 month Democrats were in charge. I don't know what this House will negotiate out if that ends up being the case, but yeah, I think trying to predict what legislation might come up or what potential outcomes will be is really tough. This is one of those elections where there's so many seats up for grabs in both parties that I'm really interested to see what plays out.
Well, we also have the dynamics of the governor. The governor wants her economic development package done, right? She absolutely wants that done. And right now, there is not a consensus on what that economic development package will look like in the House and the Senate. So they're going to have to negotiate that out significantly in order to, give her what she wants before this end of this legislative term. So will the members who maybe weren't running for re-election this time decided to sit it out, or those members who actually lost their seats in the election, will they be here? Will they be willing to negotiate their votes on, big packages like economic development, or will they not? Will they not be here? We don't know. We do know the House has struggled terribly this year with having enough attendance. For the Democrats to actually have enough majority in the House, because they only had a 2-seat majority. We know that they've struggled with attendance this year so far. If the election turns out to be not necessarily in their favor, what's going to compel them to come in now and really roll up their sleeves and give the governor what she wants? So it really remains to be seen.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts there, especially when you add in the governor's dynamic and the economic package. If she has, a decent amount of Democrats, can she get some Republicans to vote for a package by giving some things to certain areas? That all these different moving parts, and whether there's a flip or not may not even impact that. It could just be that that's what's going to dictate who shows up and who votes on what, and yeah, very
Who's willing to
interesting.
play? It's
Pardon
really
me?
about, who's willing to play? Who's
Yeah.
gonna negotiate? Who's gonna drop in some strategy here and negotiate certain votes on some things and get what they want out of others? So
And
really
then
remains to be
there's
seen.
always that component is and while they're negotiating these bigger issues, what do they do when they're negotiating that? You know, a lot of times that's when a lot of other bills get done, and that's when you start seeing a lot of bills move quickly because the bigger negotiations going on, they're like, oh, we might as well do something. And then they start voting on other bills that some bigger, some smaller, some medium, you know, that's when you start seeing things happen. But
Be fun.
well, it'll be fun. All right, we're gonna, well, I mean, I guess I could answer this next one. What color are Steve's socks today? They are orange and gray and blue.
I'm
course.
sorry, is that because that matches your jacket and your tie today?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Did you
got
pick
to.
that out, Steve?
I did, yes,
Mhm.
I did. But that's, of course, it's gotta coordinate. That's, your socks are always supposed to match your tie, just so you know. If there are any questions in the future about fashion, you can always ask. All right, and then finally, and bonus points to you guys if you answer this correctly. Who is currently the longest serving county commissioner in the state?
Deena,
I
you want
think you
to take a
told me the
stab
other
at
day,
it?
but
Did I? You want to answer it or you want me to answer it?
I want you to answer it.
Okay, it's Doug Johnson. Doug Johnson from Otsego County. Actually serving his last 2 months as a county commissioner. He is hanging it up after, Derek, you can chime in on this, 22 years as a county commissioner, is that correct?
44.
Oh, it's close. Just divided in half. 22 terms is what I meant. 44 years.
44.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's quite the length of service, public service in county commission. That's just unbelievable. So I'm going to be heading up to Otsego County next month to help honor him on his last day as county commissioner. But Doug's been involved with MAC for many years. He's sits on the chairs of the board of trustees for our workers' compensation fund. He's been a great supporter of MAC, so we wish him the best of luck and thank him for his many, many years of service. And so with that, I think that's all we had as our questions. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add in?
Well, I think Derek wanted to know, Steve, do you remember the first time you voted?
Oh boy, I don't. It's been a long time. But fun fact, I'm taking my 18-year-old daughter to vote tomorrow for the first time. So that's kind of fun. My wife and I are going to take her. We didn't do our absentees or anything like that. We wanted to go with her on her first time voting. So we're going to take her as an 18-year-old, newly 18-year-old. She just turned on October 18th to go vote for the first time. So I will be
Oh,
able to
that's
remember
exciting.
that which is more important than when I voted anyway.
That is exciting. That's fun.
But I think you said you voted for your first election was presidential election was who?
Yeah, I voted for Dukakis against George Bush. Yes, I did. So I'm completely dating myself, but I did. I voted for Dukakis because he was Greek.
Great reason.
Right? So my 18-year-old brain, I don't know. I'm gonna vote for Mike Dukakis. He's Greek. I'm Greek. I gotta vote for the Greek. That's what I did.
At least you had a reason.
I had a reason. Sam?
The first time I could vote was in 2016.
Oh,
Wow.
So we all know who that one was. Yeah. In
So
my
that was-
dorm in Brody Hall or Brody neighborhood at MSU, I voted for the first time.
nice.
Oh wow. Yeah, geez. That ages us.
Yeah,
Dina,
thanks for
huh?
making me feel old, Sam.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I
All right,
was
well-
1988. That's how bad that is.
Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Obviously, if you haven't voted, get out and vote tomorrow, no matter who it's for. It's an important thing to do. And we will look forward to talking to everyone next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Podcast 83.